Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Choices Finding Your Joy. Paula Vail here, and oh my gosh, we just have an amazing guest today. I'm so thrilled to share with everyone Adele Anderson. Adele had an experience. She was in a plane that crashed and flipped in the water. And as she was drowning, she discovered that choice exists in our life. And she has done so much with her life and is going to share some great inspiration and perceptions with us. Adele, I'm so honored to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Paula. I really am thrilled to be here and thrilled to share. Thrilled to share not only my story, but hope that there is choice, even in life's most dire circumstances. I always say, out of breath, out of time, we still have choice.
And you saying that makes me realize really that's not something I have always thought about. We have our choices every day and rolling along. I've never thought about really having choices at a dire moment. I would love you to share that experience that you had that day in the airplane with us.
Okay. Well, I was 27. It was a small plane. There was just two passengers, the pilot and myself. So we were sitting tandem, meaning one behind the other. And it was a beautiful day. I remember we were on our way back to the airport and the sun went down. We'd been traveling with another plane. And just like if you've ever watched E.T. and he goes into silhouette, well, that happened. And I was so in awe of the beauty that I was, it was forever something that I'll have in my mind. And then the pilot indicated to me, kind of pointed to the river below us, and he wanted to go and swoop down towards the river and do what is called a skip and go, which means he's just going to have his pontoons touch the surface of the water, and then he's going to shoot back up into the sky. And that would be kind of like our finale for the day.
Mm-hmm.
But what he didn't realize is he had left the landing gear down. And when that plane made contact with the water, it flipped. And it flipped so fast from nose to tail that I saw him go under. I went to take a breath of air and my mouth filled with water. And then I was upside down. It was black. It was cold. It was wet, obviously. It was confusing. And I was trapped and I had a mouthful of water. So my first instinct was a bit like, just get me out of here. So I was, bucking in my seat, but I was locked in my 3-point harness, and I also had a life jacket on. So all of the straps from the life jacket were tangled in this 3-point harness. And at that point, I realized that this doesn't look good. And it was confusing because the plane was turning in the current. So there was a lot of moving parts, and there was debris in the water that was like bumping my body, and everything was confusing. And then I could feel, I'd been a lifeguard as a teenager. That's what I did going through high school. And so, if you've ever been in a pool and wanted to swim underwater as far as you can, and you realize when your arms and legs get that tingly feeling that you're running out of oxygen. And so I recognized that this was happening to me and that my oxygen was in short supply. So I didn't want to exhale. I wanted to keep all the oxygen in my body. So I swallowed the water, which was very awful. And then I realized that I might die. And why I realized that was because my life began to flash in front of my eyes. Millions and millions of images from the moment of my birth all the way through my life. And these images continued on past what would be my death. And I had this vision, very clear vision of our local police force walking through my parents' front yard up their big red brick steps and knocking on that old door. And I watched my parents open the door, and their expressions would change. couldn't hear the conversation that was taking place, but I could only imagine what would cause my parents' faces to change from curiosity to awareness to understanding and then to horror. And it's been almost 30 years, and every time I say this, it makes me emotional. So you can see how our brains function, how this event has really been trapped to this sadness within my body. But in my mind, I saw my mom collapse to the floor, and she screamed. And she screamed so loud inside my head that it snapped me back into my reality that I was upside down, drowning in a plane that had crashed and overturned in water. And I made a choice right then that I wasn't going to do that to my mom and dad. That was not going to be my reality. And by making that choice, I set in motion some amazing things within our subconscious mind. So I said, I'm getting out of the plane. I'm getting out of it now. This is not my reality. And like that, all of those images that had flashed forward started to flash in reverse. It's like an old-time ticker tape movie. One screen, millions of images. And then it stopped. And it stopped on a scene of a movie that I had watched decades before. Didn't know the name of the movie, the actors, the scenes that came before, or the scenes that would follow. I knew nothing about the movie itself. But the scene that was right in front of my eyes gave me all the information I needed to escape a plane that had crashed and overturned in water. And I followed the script of a commander training young pilots how to do that. And I escaped the plane and saved my life.
Oh my God.
I'm here to tell you, the words and how we interact with our mind, even in life's most dire circumstances, we still have the ability to make choices. There's a secret behind it, and I'm sure we'll get to that.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. And then you released yourself and got out of the plane. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, I remember breaking the surface of the water and, taking that first painful breath. I think my lungs were pretty deflated. And, crawling up onto the underside of the pontoon and, raising my arms like, I just won gold at the Olympics. And I let out this yeah! The adrenaline was phenomenal. And so was just the wonder of being alive. It really was like a rebirth.
Yes.
It really was from that day forward.
Yes. What new mindsets did this give you going forward, Adele?
Yes. We all go through these patterns of behavior, at least many of the people that I talk to do, and myself, I'm not immune to that, where we come to junctions in our life where sometimes it feels like it's just too hard. And other times it just seems like life is flowing. But there seems to be a cycle. So when we're not on the right trajectory, or maybe it's time to change, it kind of gets stopped somehow. And then we make a choice to do something different. I became aware of the power of the mind at that point, but I hadn't discovered the science behind it yet. I still needed more knowledge before I was really able to put it to use. I know that everything happens for a reason, and I embrace that. But there are specific reasons why I know how the mind worked in order to create my survival. And one of it was based on my thoughts and which would be turned into be words if I wasn't underwater, how I communicated with my mind. If I would have said I can't get out, my brain would not have sourced that library of all of the information that, you know, has been downloaded into each one of our brains from the moment we became conscious. And we talked about your birth, right? You know, everything that we've seen, heard, tasted, felt, kinesthetically, emotionally, smelled, all of our sensory is how we're downloading information. And that's filed in our subconscious brain. I call it, you know, we have a university between our ears.
Yes.
And being able to access that information is a phenomenal thing. Like if I could access that information when I was out of breath and out of time, imagine if we could access that every day.
Oh,
and I know that it's possible because now I know neuroscience.
yes.
Those were the choices that I was making almost unconsciously, was moving towards more understanding of why I survived.
Yes.
And then also recognizing that I have a purpose.
Yes.
My purpose, you know, is now to share not only what I've learned, but how it can help us.
Yes. And, you know, that is a beautiful message. Myself, I've always referred to my mind's library. And I've used that to, I know when I have special memories and moments in my life, and I put them in my mind's library, and I know whenever I want to go back to it, I can go there and feel that moment.
Yes.
But it's never occurred to me of how I can use that mind's library to do so many things and create, as you've talked about. Oh my gosh, what a door that opens, Adele.
Well, it is incredible when we understand that our subconscious mind doesn't recognize the difference between reality and fantasy. So we're all sitting on the couch watching a movie, and you know, if you grew up in the 70s, you watched Jaws, and
Yes.
you know, just that sound of doo 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 doo, and you feel your heart rate start to rise and your body temperature start to rise, and maybe even pick your feet up off the floor and curl them onto the couch. So, you know, our mind is taking this information in as if it's real. We're actually sitting in the safety of our homes, but having the experience of being chased by a shark. And you know, we can go through hundreds of thousands of these experiences and recognize that our brain is actually learning how to maneuver in different situations, giving us the idea of what we can expect if we walk down a black alley at midnight in a town that we don't know if it's safe. You know, they become experiences that we can draw on if we recognize that, and if we don't stop or inhibit or halt our brain's ability to communicate with us through very simple language. I always say, talk to your subconscious brain like a 2-year-old. So, you know, we don't use big words. We use the words that keep us up at night, you know, and which are usually like less than 4 letters, right? And if we stay away from what I call stop words like can'ts, shouldas, wouldas, tries, never, always, can't, you know, we can go on and on with the words that say that something is not possible. And when we indicate that to our brain, it is our most trusted advisor. It believes us. So if we want its help, we need to ask for it rather than telling our brain that there's no point in looking because you've already said it can't be done or it's not possible. And I'm telling you, almost anything is possible if you really want it.
Wow.
Right?
That is such a statement of how powerful our thoughts and words are, isn't it?
It really is. Our thoughts and words have the power to turn on and off the genetic markers of predisposition. They say that our thoughts and words are more powerful than our genetics. Our genetics is becoming a very small part of the puzzle now. We have more control of our lives and our health than we ever thought possible. And that's in neuroscience. These are not my words. These are coming out of Harvard, Yale, written in the New England Journal of Medicine. So I think that, there's a new world dawning. And it has dawned for a while, but now it's becoming mainstream. We're talking, meditation in Time magazine. We used to be able to see it in other, written articles that maybe weren't as recognized.
Yes.
As we do now. Now we're talking, Yale and Harvard saying, find your truth, find your wellness.
And that's exciting and empowering. It really is.
Isn't it? I'm so thrilled. And yet, I talk with people who are faced with life-threatening illnesses, and, it is a mindset that requires us to, have faith. And yet there's been so many studies and, lots of smart people, PhDs, that are agreeing, that our mindset plays such an important role in all of that. Yeah. And if we can share more and embody more of these natural sciences and natural innate abilities of, that are already built into this incredible, body of ours, body and mind, that the human race really, where can we go? Like, it's just unstoppable.
Yes, I love it. And Adele, you actually work with people now, don't you, as a coach? Will you tell everyone about that, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So my first education was in natural medicine. So I was in natural medicine for about 25 years, but I was still, searching again for the answers to my survival. And when I was introduced to neurolinguistics programming, which is based in neuroscience, and it's also has a big component in linguistics and psychology and cybernetics. There's a whole facet to anybody who understands neurolinguistics programming, or NLP for short. But I find that my most utilized modality that I offer my clients when I coach them is NLP. And the reason why is because we can make amazing changes in people's lives in a very short time. So we used to think that if we had emotional issues, that we needed to understand it and talk about it and work it out and do the work and practice and, on and on. But through neuroscience, we've now discovered that emotion is connected to physiology. So every time we feel an emotion, it has a certain body temperature, respiration, heart rate, the way we stand. There can be a whole visual, what your brain will do is how it downloads everything you see, smell, taste, hear, feel kinesthetically. So it actually creates a object within your mind in a certain part of your body. So, sometimes if you feel anxiety, maybe you feel it in your chest. So I'll ask you to actually go in and look at that through a visualization process. And then what we do is we can go through what I call the back door. We simply change the physiology. So in my office, I have different charts, and I can also do this through visualization. So the most simple way that I can explain this is if I put you into a state of recalling a negative event in your life, so that you felt that emotion, whether it was anxiety or disrespect or whatever it is, right? It can be anything. And then you have that physiology within your body. And then what I'll do is I'll take you 3 feet into a different section of the room because we actually anchor, and we can talk about anchoring, in a certain state. So then I have you focus on a chart. And if you can imagine this chart, just it reads like a book, and it has 3 words on it: red, green, and blue. But each one of those words is repeated about 72 times, and they're colored the wrong color. So red might actually be colored blue. The word green might be colored red, and the word red might be colored blue. So I first get you to tell me the color that you see, not the word you can read. And then the second round is when it's red, I have you put your right hand up. When it's blue, I have you put your left hand up. And when it's green, I have you clap. So you go through it again, 72 different words, all in colors. The third time we add the opposite leg, and we jump when we clap for green. And what this does is like doing a little aerobics. But it has focused your mind away from that emotion that you were feeling a moment before. It's a 2-step process in the brain to ignore the word and to say the color. And now I'm going to make you sweat. I'm going to make you raise your heart rate, raise your body temperature, and raise your respiration by doing this little jig. And within 10 minutes, I can take you again to the other side of the room where you were remembering that event in your life. You'll still be able to know that the event occurred, but you will not be able to source it in your mind.
Wow.
Because your brain has created a neural pathway that's connected a certain physiology with that certain emotion. And when I change the physiology, it's no longer able to make that connection. It's fast and it lasts. I do it with children who misbehave. Parents call me.
Wow.
And I also do it with people that are having issues. Well, I do it for almost everything, but quite often, sadly, someone will come in and say, I just found my partner on a dating site. I got a little pop-up that came on my email this morning, and I opened it up and I was like, oh my. And I said, well, if you're wanting to move past this and have a conversation that matters, where, it doesn't escalate and you're able to stay in your big thinker, rather than run a pattern of behavior and, say some things that you might not be happy about tomorrow, then we can eliminate that. And literally they can't see it anymore.
Yes. It sounds like you just do a broad spectrum of work with what you're doing in your coaching.
It's funny because, as practitioners, we're supposed to market to a certain demographic, right? Mm-hmm. So professional women between the ages of 35 and 55. But when people hear me speak or learn the work that I do, I've had children as young as 4 and people as old as 82. One of my very, very some of the times my jaw drops. This one lady came to me. She had fallen down a set of stairs about 3 or 4 years prior to seeing me. She had neurological damage on half of her face because her head had hit stairs at the bottom. And she had uncontrolled twitching on one half of her face, very linear. You could, draw a line from the top of her crown through her nose and her chin. And she was suicidal. This constant twitching. And we ran this game, and I'm telling you, she'd been to every neurologist.
Wow.
That she was trying to have this problem solved for several years. And I just met her at someone's birthday party and said, well, why don't you come and see me? I have no idea if I can help you, but I'd love to try. And she could do this game and get it to stop twitching.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Will
was
you
amazing.
share with the audience, this is fascinating, I love it, your website information, Adele,
Yeah.
please, how they can get a hold of you?
Thank you, Paula. My email is yes@lifecoachadele.com. So my website is lifecoachadele.com. I've got lots of different services in there. You can even pop into my scheduler and have a free 30-minute session with me just to have a conversation, free of charge. I'm happy to do that. And then I just, yeah, it really is an individual preference of if you're just tired of living with the pain, like emotional pain, physical pain. You know, I just feel so grateful to be able to do this for people, but I just also want to offer hope to people. Like, I know absolutely that the human being was never meant to live in emotional pain. I know that because I've witnessed it change with so many people, and it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to slug it out. You really can move forward and feel lightness. And that's the feedback that I get the most, actually, is I feel free. I feel light. Yeah.
Oh, Adele, you are an inspiration and a gift to all of us. I am so grateful. Oh, I wish we had more time. I could go on for an hour listening to you.
That's
But
so kind.
before we say
I just
goodbye,
really appreciate chatting.
you're welcome. Do also let the audience know about your podcast, if you would.
Oh, yes. I started a podcast as a way to spread the love. It's called Mind Your Freedom. I'm about 6 months into it. I also interview amazing people. It's become a joy of mine. And I've discovered that there's just so much more to learn.
Yes.
People have amazing skills and modalities that sometimes I wasn't even aware that they existed. And I love it when someone can shift my perception and just open new ideas within my mind.
I love it. Oh, I am so happy we met. And we chatted before the show and discovered we both are prior restaurant owners. So we have that as well. Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Adele. Love, hugs, and blessings.
I'm grateful. I really am. I'm so happy that we connected. And I hope that we stay connected.
Yes, we're going to.
Yeah, I would
going
love that.
to. I'm going to head up towards Vancouver.
Yeah, come for a visit.
Lunch. And to everyone out there, thank you for joining us. Love, hugs, and blessings. Goodbye, everyone. Bye, Adele. Thank you.
Bye, Paula. Bye, everybody.